Hi there, this is Sean. In this video, we're discussing another book from the Miles Franklin Literary Award longlist. The book is called The Other Half of You. It's written by Michael Mohammed Ahmad. I thought it was an okay book. It's not my favourite book I've read so far from this long list, so I will rate them all, and I may even do a video of all the books in one video with my rating as well. I didn't realise that this book was the third book in a trilogy. I don't think you need to read the first two to enjoy this one. I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything, and I felt like that I got a good grasp of the characters and all the situations in just this one book. I'm really glad I read this book because it delves deeply into the goings-on in a Muslim family, basically, and you get a really good sense of how they interact with each other, how they interact with their immediate family and their wider family, and also the wider community. And you get a really good sense of how the main character, Bali, thinks of himself in all these different constructs in society. It's not something that you get brought into a lot in books, especially in this much detail. This book centers around the main character, Bali. It's meant to be a sort of letter written to his future child. Now, I found that concept quite strange because in this book we have some explicit scenes of a sexual nature, and I'm just curious why that was included if the book is meant to be a letter to his child. It just seems strange. A lot of this book centers around Bali's search for happiness, I think. His search for love and his search for freedom to find love where he wants it, and freedom to be himself. That's what this feels like to me. And it's also, I guess, him telling his future child, or the child he's writing this letter to, that it's okay to want those things. You don't have to conform to what everybody else wants for you. That's the main theme I got from this book. In this book, Bali falls in love with a Christian girl, and he has to hide it from his family because he knows that if they find out, he'll have to break off that relationship. He can't marry her, be forbidden, and he'll be forced into marrying somebody. And that's what he's afraid of, I think, in this book, at the very start anyway. The family do find out about this Christian girl, and that relationship is broken off quite severely, and he's quite traumatized by it. And you see his pain, you feel his pain in this book, and you really empathize with him. He then agrees to go through an arranged marriage, so the whole process starts. And so we get the whole process of him being introduced to girls and their parents, and they go and meet them. His parents come along as well, so they sit in the room. They don't really talk to each other, him and the girl. The parents talk, they may look at each other. That's what sort of happens in these situations. Then when they depart, the girl and the guy can decide if they want to marry that person or not. So they get a choice. And if they both say yes, they go ahead with the wedding, the engagement and the wedding. If one of them says no, then they don't bother and they go to meet the next girl or guy. That's how it worked in this book anyway. He does eventually find somebody he wants to marry, and this girl wants to marry him. But it seems like this girl wants to marry him for the wrong reasons. She wants to escape her own family. So you get the sense that it's going to be a relationship and a marriage that doesn't work from the start. And I won't tell you if it does work or not, but you get a really clear sense, I think, of what's going to happen. And there are certain scenes in the novel that are quite traumatic for him in this marriage. And the girl he's marrying seems very naive. I mean, she hasn't got life experience. She's younger than him. I think she's 17 when they first meet, and he's in his early 20s. And so there's a little bit of an age difference, not much at all really, but just in their maturity and their mentality, they're vastly different. So it's not a very good match for him at all, I don't think, in this book. Also on the side, what's happening is he was going to a boxing gym, and he was training in amateur boxing. He stopped that because he agreed to get a nose job because his family told him that his nose was stopping him finding a wife. He did find his wife after he had his nose job, but because of his nose job, he stopped boxing. Just before he stopped boxing, there was a new receptionist at the gym, and she was a white girl, white Australian, and he liked her, and there seemed to be a bit of a connection between them. At the start, they were just friends, so nothing between them but friendship. But you get the feeling, and as this story goes on, he starts thinking of her more and more. He's toying with the idea of meeting with her and getting to know her more and trying to develop that relationship further. And that starts to happen when he's still married. And that's where I'll leave the description of the plot, because I don't want to spoil it for you, because there's big choices in this book for Barley, and there's big twists that come from that, and a lot of character growth, not just for him, but for other people as well, in his family and in the story itself. So it's a great book for the characters. I think character development is really good in this book, and I thought the character development was probably the standout. The plot is good, but I thought the character development was a lot better than the plot. I want to concentrate on two characters that I thought were the main standouts in this book. The first is Barley, of course, the main character. He was an interesting character. He had a lot of growth in this book, and he was the character that seemed the most different to the rest of his family. And you get the sense with him that he just wants to be different. He wants to try different things. He doesn't want to be boxed in to what his family thinks he should be. And you always get this sense that he's always pushing on the edges on the fence, trying to get out, trying to try something new. And he keeps getting dragged back a little bit. But every time he tries to push out, you just feel like he's getting further and further out, that those ties that are holding him back are getting weaker and weaker. You get that sense in this book very strongly. He's also quite a kind character as well. He can be a bit rough, and he can be very protective of his family and his friends, but he seems to also be quite gentle at times and a lot quieter than the rest of his family. So he's very complex as a character. There's some little bits about him that I thought were a bit odd, that I didn't get, understand too much. But I thought on the whole, he's a fairly good character, and I thought a character that I was really glad to meet in this book, because he's presented in such a really positive way, and I'm grateful that I got to read this book and read about this character. The other character I'll mention is Olivia, and she calls herself Ollie. Now, Ollie is the receptionist at the gym where Barley is going to learn to box before he stops after his nose job. I don't know if I liked her as much as Barley, but there are some kind of quirks that make her stand out. She's quite mysterious in a way. She's standoffish a little bit at the start with Barley, and she gradually gets to know him better and gets to like him, and they do become friends. I thought that the way the author teased her personality out in this instance, in this book, was done well, quite interesting. It doesn't always work when authors do that, but I thought the author managed to do that quite well, and it suited the story. And I thought that she had very good mystery and very good humour, and she had very good consistency in the book. She was very consistent all the way through, and her motives always seemed spot on for the character. Almost as good as Barley as a character. There are some things about her that didn't make sense to me, though. There were some things that kind of took the shine off a little bit from the character, but on the whole, I thought she was very good, very well crafted, and very well done. The other half of You, I thought was a good read, above average, and I'm really grateful for this book because it presented a different side of life that I don't get to see that often. I don't get to see it often, even in TV shows or movies, especially in books as well. So I'm just really grateful that the author did write it this way and immersed me in this family. And I thought I learnt a lot from this book, especially around just the way the interpersonal relationships happen in this family. This family had a lot of light and shade as well. You can see really good positivity in the family, and you can see the family sticks together through a lot. You can also see some harshness in the family as well, but you get to see some changes as well, and you get to see little bits of character growth even in the parents in this story. And towards the end, some great character growth, I thought, with the parents. I thought that was really positive as well, and it shines a really positive light on this family and this whole community, in my opinion. I rate it a 3 out of 5. I did enjoy the read. I'm glad I read it. It does make me want to read the first 2 in the trilogy, so I may go back and read them. I'm not sure when, but I do plan to go back and read the first 2 books, because this book is good enough, I think, to make me hungry to read those first 2 books. I will review all the books in the Miles Franklin Literary Award long list for 2022. If you don't want to miss out on those videos, check out my channel and subscribe. I also have a playlist for these books as well. It should be on your screen now.